All right. Clear my throat there. What is going on? We should be live. So let's see if that's true. Then we're going to post real quick online, and we'll get to work this morning. So checking in on my signal here. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. We'll get to work this morning. So checking in on my signal here. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're looking good over there. I'm going to drop that volume down so I don't get in the way of myself. And I'm going to grab that link here real fast, post it on the socials, and then we'll get to work here for like maybe around 90 minutes this morning. Let me go ahead and give you guys an intro just so you know who I am, what I got going on here while I press these buttons to distract you. Hi, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, I publish them online, and I'm creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, publishing on DMsGuild using the new 2024 rules. We're publishing an adventure called Crystals of Mavar. It's in the Eberron campaign setting. You're fighting undead demons and necromancers in the Carnwood of Carnath and the continent of Corvair. I illustrate my books. I publish them. We do the play testing. We do all the game design, all the writing. Pretty much the only thing that I don't do here on stream is editing, because you want to hire a separate editor to make sure that your language sounds good. So I've got my socials done. I can get those out of the way. If you think the stuff today is cool, I stream 5 days a week in the morning doing artwork. I do game design on Mondays and Thursday nights, including tonight, as well as Tuesday and Friday lunchtimes. And what we're working on ultimately becomes the next book that we'll publish. So if you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. We have a bunch of new subscribers. Thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. Here's a bunch of books on the DMsGuild I've already created that are for Dungeons & Dragons 2014. We're going through the process of updating books and creating new books for 2024. Social media channels here, and all 516 episodes of us creating all the map assets, tokens, etc. are all right here. That's probably enough ado. So let me just fix my screen here real quick. There, and we'll get to work. So this is the book cover. We made this around episode 40. You'll see this on the DMsGuild front rack once it publishes. Let me grab my art pen here. Let's see. Just for those that don't know, this is the landscape that we're working on right now. It's we work one layer at a time, like Bob Ross, working our way forward in the piece. This is here. I'll add the text back in for reference, and we'll add the block back in. So there we go. So it's a 16 by 9 format. So if I zoom in here and you're looking at this full screen, you'll see that this occupies the space of your screen. It's 16 by 9 format. It's actually 17 inches wide, 10 inches tall if you go by inch, 300 dots per inch. And so on a device, you can look at it full screen this way. It's a 12-point font, so it's real easy on the eye. Or each individual column is also in the 16 by 9 format as well. So once it publishes, you can look at a whole page at a time like this, and just, flip from page to page, or you can turn it upright to be able to have a much closer look at the text and be able to scroll through that sideways. So it's a digital document. So I can use digital formatting to complement the media that you're utilizing to absorb the information. So that's the philosophy that goes on behind that. So let's conceal the text. Let's disable the masking layer so that we have a full environment to play around inside of. And I guess we'll just get back to work, right? I'm gonna grab this color here. So, and then I want to grab this color here. When we last left off, we were creating texture on the mountains. This brush set is on my Patreon. It's linked down below. You don't have to be a paying member to have access. This is I created the AVR file where all my brushes are kept as a thank you for my subscribers, and we're approaching 600 subscribers. I'm really excited about that, and we're just gonna keep growing, keep painting art, keep finding folks that are interested in it and hang out with. Sorry about the throat here this morning, guys. Hold on real quick. There we go. Okay, maybe maybe now I'll have less frog in my throat, and I'll be more tolerable to listen to. Hold on. Fix my screens. There. Grab a sip of coffee to wash it down. All right, tools. Let's see. Let's get up here. We want to be 100% eraser on our smudge tool. We want to be 100% strength on our smudge, and then painting with the ink. Let's go back to here. Break all that up. This is just basic texturing techniques that we use to duplicate how Bob builds mountains. We don't have the same sort of dexterity that Bob has with live media in Meat Space. So we simulate his randomizing brush strokes on creating mountains by adding and erasing ink in a similar fashion. Let's drop this down here. There we go. Break that up like that. So we're going to pick at this just for a little bit, and then we're going to drop in the, we're going to use the same technique, but in the shadows. And then we'll move on from the mountains into actually Atur Academy itself. So break that up a little bit. Here, break this up a little bit. By using 100% on all the tools, when I grab ink and I pull it on with the smudge tool, it doesn't leave any information behind. It grabs all the information and drags it with me. But because the brush has so many jags and little gaps and empty negative spaces inside of it, it misses a lot of the ink. So it ends up being dragged around haphazardly. Which is the result that we want. That's how we can get these little ridges, cracks, and gaps inside the rocky surface to be able to create that effect. Since we can't drag a palette knife across the canvas and have the paint stick to the imperfections of the canvas, we have to fake generation of those imperfections with the eraser tool. So I dot in some eraser, and then I drag across to break up the paint that remains in the gaps, and it creates this neat little broken terrain effect. Works really, really well. Go down here and we just basically follow the lines of the contour of the mountain. Just kind of work our way down the canvas. We add in ink, we add in color where it seems like it's thinned out too much, breaks the shape that you want, and then we drag that around and break it up so it creates texture similarly. take this, we can erase to create this little shadow in here. Make that stand out a little bit, and then we'll take the shadow pigment and we'll do the same effect overlapping on top of this on the back side of the mountain over here, like this. So I'm going to fill this in a little bit more to make a little bit more of a ridge bump like that. And again, working this into the canvas just to create the slope and the shapes that we want. It's a real easy technique. The tools make it really easy. I used to do this manually, all these little shapes and stuff by just like drawing them. But once I figured out how to make this, I call it a mountain chisel. Once we were able to create this mountain chisel, this process became a lot easier. And we have a razor as well, a mountain razor. That's a different shape brush, but this one in particular seems to want the chisel. So we're just sticking with a singular tool just to demonstrate that the techniques are easy, and that you can do them too. So there's nothing magical that I'm doing here. I'm just being patient and filling in the information. There, it looks really cool, right? Now I'm going to take the brush, the smudge tool. I'm going to drop it down to like around 70%. I'm just going to smudge around inside this space here to create a mild gradient that helps blend the height of the mountain into the lowland, where there's more atmospheric disturbance, dust, grit, pollen in the air. It creates more atmospheric disturbance is the correct word. And I'm going to switch to my cloud smudge brush, like around a 30% strength, so that I can just work this gradient into the canvas without much interruption. Here, just pulling down at the mountain to let it blend into the lowland terrain. Here, that should be sufficient. I don't need to really break it down much more than this. Because all this part here is going to end up getting covered up by foreground terrain. You won't see it, but we want to make sure all this stuff is consistent and effective, that it works the way that it's supposed to, because we don't know what's going to poke through the rest of the piece as we continue building it. Use the eraser here just to fill that in a little. Higher amount and drag like that. There. Let me just go back to the low intensity blending here. See, it looks pretty cool. Ends up looking pretty good. See, no complaint. No complaint. Let's take another sip. So that's good enough for the highlight. Let's do the same thing. We're gonna add in another layer. I'm gonna actually blend these down. Let's merge these layers because they don't need to be different layers at this point. We're going to add an additional layer now. It's going to be the shadow layer. So we have, that is the same color. We have a sample here that we were working with before in the rough. So now we can just grab along here. Let's go back to our chisel brush here at 100%. There. here. Shadow layer. Well, hey Raul, how you doing? Can't believe you used to draw all those shapes one by one. Yeah, it's you had to start somewhere, right? That speaks. Well, I've talked about that before. How tool like the unique brushes that you can build inside of Photoshop or whatever program that you're using. They shortcut the process, but if you don't know what you actually need the brush for. Like, if you're getting somebody else's brush, like I offer these brushes on my Patreon, obviously, but I want to demonstrate how to use them here because just picking up the brushes doesn't do anything for you. You have to understand what's the techniques that went into why developing them. Like, why did I need these tools? Because all this manually doing all these pockmarks and stuff, like you've accurately deduced, it's maddening. So I created a tool that helped organize chaos, so I could steer it to create these organic shapes. And I messed with a lot of different designs to finally settle here. Way back in the day, like you can see here how I can rotate the tool here. Way back in the day, I didn't even have a tool that would do that. I would have to make a mark, go into the tool, rotate it manually so that it would do that, and then rotate it again. Hold on. Rotate it again so it'd be like that. Like, this is the degree that I had to operate, like the manual steps I had to take to make this work. So not only are the brush tools better than they used to be, but the actual physical tools that I have here to manipulate the brushes improved as well. Get that out. There we go. Burr. Good morning, by the way. How you doing, my man? Break that up, and then we got our 100% smudge brush. So we're just gonna jump in here and using the same principles that we used to create the highlights we're doing with the shadow, so that the texture remains consistent. And so with the change in pigment, it helps create the shadow. See, I mean, this stuff just fills in so easily and so nicely. We really set ourselves up to succeed. All we got to do is just fill it in. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. I spy with my eyes something that is text. What's up? I could go to post high school. Absolute nightmare. Good afternoon to you. Right on, man. Hey, don't hate the process. Just follow the steps. If there's a path move forward towards where you want to be, what you want to do, then that is the proper step for you to take right now. It might not be the step that you want to take right now, but if it is moving towards your goals, it is the proper step. And you'll eventually be in line with steps that you want to be taking, that you're excited to be taking. But for now, you can at least revel that you have a path you have a path to move forward. So good luck, man. Grab this and drag it down, just break it up the shapes. That's okay. You don't need to know what you want to do. Just follow, just keep moving in a direction that feels right. Like for a compass to be useful for you, you got to get your bearings, right? Not knowing what you want to do is a way for you to get your bearings. Like what do I actually want to do? That's like finding north. And until you find north, you have to keep turning the compass around until the needle aligns properly. It doesn't just automatically align. You have to calibrate it first. And that's what you're going through right now. You're just going through a calibration period of transitioning away from what was easy and guided meditation for you in your life until now. And now you have the opportunity to take the reins and start making calls for yourself. And there's no prep school for like life decisions 101. That's just shit you got to figure out as you go. And that's where you're at. It's all part of the process, man. Drop that in there. That feels pretty good. So I'm going to switch to the smudge, drop it down to on a 50% strength, and we're just going to grab and drag to blend in this, again, blending in the lower end, just letting it melt into each other so that it becomes lowland. Smudge through there. Blend that in. And then we'll break it up a little bit. Nice. I don't know if there's pet stores or anything in your community, but a lot of times sheltered pets need volunteers. If there was like an animal rescue place where you could volunteer cleaning up cages or walking dogs or something, you could put in like 10 hours a week, go to a shelter and help take care of the animals that need to be taken care of already. Volunteering your time might be a good way for you to secure an internship. And it would be a good way for you to test your tolerance of cleaning up after animals. Like, I don't know if you have a pet already or not. If you do, it certainly makes the task easy. If you don't, this is a really great crash course in seeing, do you actually have the what's the word I'm looking for? Patience isn't quite right. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a specific word. Got my vocabulary. The disposition. If working with animals at that capacity is within your disposition, within tolerance of your personality. It's not the right. I'm not using the right word. Like volunteering your time to do a task that you would ultimately like to get paid to do speaks to the passion that you have for the work itself, whether you're getting paid or not. Nothing says this is something that I put my heart into, like something that you're willing to do for free, that you can later have the option of being paid to do full time. The reason you get paid to do it full time is because your work with that medium in that industry is so valuable that people want you to focus your attention there. So we're going to pay you so you can keep doing what you're doing all the time so that you don't have to make it volunteer work, so you can dedicate yourself, because what you're doing is improving things in this for this industry or for this business or for these animals. I don't know. I don't know if it's an option for you or not, but that's immediately where my brain goes. If you can't do what you want, find a way to approximate what you're doing. And a lot of times volunteering and charity work in orbit of what you actually want to do for a living is a good way to get you into a position that you could do it for a living. I knew a gal that wanted to be a veterinarian, But I never saw her spend any time with animals at all. Like literally, never spent time with animals. Didn't go out of her way to pet dogs. Didn't trying to find out the name of pets that people have. It's like, do you really like animals, or are you like more of like a corporate agriculturalist? Or it was weird. It was really weird. It was like a big disconnect between what she said she wanted to do and what she actually did with her life. Very, very different, and that's a tell. Drop this shadow in here. I like that. All right, let's switch back to our normal chisel tool. 100% strength. I'm gonna take a sip of water. I'm not a fan of these top fan buttons. Reactions, set feedback. Huh. Special badges. Top fan and XP. What's the leaderboard? A place for fans to stand out in the community. The top 3 get special badges in live chat. It resets every stream so you can always try again. How do you get on the leaderboard? You'll need to collect experience points or XP. Here's how you get them. Send live chats, send super chats, and super stickers. Got it. Not necessarily a fan of that, but it is, hey, it's what they're doing, so cheers, I guess. Sorry, I'm getting used to these new buttons. Let's see. Thanks. Problems I don't want to do. Thanks. Well, I like to work with animals. Not sure if I can find an education for that. I mind the smell of dog. Ha! Yeah, me neither. Here the whole cares. Right on. I'm not hearing or reading any of that chat. Huh. Okay. Hopefully my screen's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Let's see. There's that. I'm going to add in a separate layer back here. Since we're working with a shadow layer, but this mountain's in the far background, I'm going to use the shadow as the highlight for this receding mountain, and then the shadow part of the mountain I'm going to just leave black. Drop down, get rid of that. Keep these edges clean. Here, push this up in there. There, that feels better. And then over here, push that down. That also feels better. That. And then blend down. Nice. All right, back to this one. 100% on the smudge. Push that up. Creating these little neat little valleys and little spaces in here. chop at that a little bit. Just add that little bits in there and break it up, push it around, creates the little forms. This should actually be further back like that. There we go. Make that all up in there. And then take and blend, pull this down into the piece. Nice. Just blend that in to take off the edge, just to make it just transition to gradient into the lowland, and then we'll just break it up a little bit with some additional texture erasing to give it a little bit more form in the depths of the shadow. What a cool little valley that is. Such a cool little valley. I love that. Blend that in here to make this a little less defined. We won't see this point. This point is going to get buried by foreground, but I love knowing that it's here. It feels so good. Just having this little, just this little space in here. Keep peppering at this, just erase those bits in there. And then we'll push this back up to 100% on the smudge tool so we can push around the texture to build some stuff out. That ridge feels a little unnatural there, so I'm going to trim that a little bit. There we go. Clean up that silhouette. Clean up the edges a little bit just to lock it in a little bit better. Cool. And put this back in. Yeah, that all sits really nicely now. Cool. Okay. I think I'm good back there. And now we'll go back to, even without the highlights, that looks really cool. And that's when you know you're doing it right. If it looks like if the highlights look good without the shadow, and if the shadow looks good without the highlights, both of them are done well, so that when you put them together, they're very complementary. And it's really a matter up to you whether you want the shadows on top of the highlights or you want them under the highlights. You can see how that changes some of the lighting. I like it with the shadows on top of the highlights generally, but that could change depending on what the sky is doing. So back into it, just dotting in our shadow here, fleshing out that space. Dot, 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 tap, 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 dot, dot. Fill this stuff in, break it up, rough it up, just filling in the pixels. After a while, it's just kind of all the same, you know? You don't really, I mean, once you figure out how something works, you don't have to concentrate on it so much, and that's when I get opened up more for conversation, and I can devote more of my brain power to contemplating answers of the multiverse. But when I'm trying to figure something out, I don't have the same freedom of flow and text, because more of my brain is being occupied with problem solving. So I like how much or how often I can feel what the solution is. I don't have to think about it. It's when I get ground down into real time of having to actually calculate stuff. It's like, this is not fun. That's where the fun ends for Philbo. Oh, that looks so cool. Doesn't take a lot. I mean, all these contours are already built for us. All we have to do is just fill them in with some color, and we don't have to be consistent about it. We want breaks. We want those blacks, like those really dark spots. So even that's where, like, the shadow highlights that we're doing, the shadow layer that we're doing is reflected light into the shadow. So the real shadow is these little black bits that are, well, it's off white. It's off blue, like it's a deep blue, but you get what I mean. So this darker shadow light that we're using is just further defining the space of the rock, and the dark blue is the actual shadow where no light can reach. Back to full. Drop it in here. And these are all developed from Bob Ross techniques, just watching Joy of Painting and breaking down and translating his techniques into the digital medium, because our tools are different. I have to approach the problem a little bit differently, but it's the same general techniques of stipple and smudge. That's all he does, is stipples and smudges. If you can stipple and you can smudge, as long as you know why you're doing what you're doing, you can do what Bob does. What's up? I do wonder why those D&D not have any true polytheism to it, or any class that works with spirits with the dead. I just don't think there's been enough of a demand for it in 5e to warrant a dedicated class like shamanism. You can argue that the druid is like an off spiritual shaman. It's not, obviously it's not the same thing, but if like all the conjuration spells, like the summoning spells, it's all even companions and like find familiar, those are all spirits that you're summoning to aid you. So the language of dealing with spirits is kind of built into the class, into the spell selection that you would have with your character. And if you want more spiritual animism, then you would naturally lean towards a druid character class. But it's not really the same thing. It's shorthanding, relying on narrative to cover what would otherwise potentially be an interesting mechanical option. But then that would lean back into like pets as a mechanic, and 5e very much wants to get away from pet characters that have and support pets, because it makes the battle, it It makes it difficult to determine a fair battle, far more difficult to determine a fair battle. And it changes action economy, so combat balance shifts. Your effective hit point supply increases because you've got more bodies on the board that can tank damage that are generally are disposable allies. So I don't blame them for moving away from that space, though it is a massive trope. And if they can hit the mechanics, if they can do well with it, it's a massive victory. I mean, that requires a level of game design and patience that has not been exuded by Hasbro-controlled WotC in quite some time. Like them being patient to make sure that you have a good product as opposed to a finished product that they can check off. Not the corporate mentality that they are encouraging or pursuing. I think public trade is probably the worst thing you can do to something that's art related or a creative endeavor. Just kills life. Just kills it. Let's go back to our chisel tool. I'm going to pick at these edges. They're a little bit too toothed. Break up that shape a little bit more. There. I'll catch up with you in a second. Hold on. Like people say they want to be, people will say they want to be a painter or they want to be an illustrator or an artist, but they don't put in the time. They're not constantly sketching. They're not constantly mixing paints. They're not building canvases. Like there's a lot of stuff that somebody can do to become an artist that they would have to end up doing anyway if they're going to be an artist. Like if you're not willing to do the simple like the simple modest tasks of performing that role, then what are you really how interested are you really in doing it? Go. Just blend that all in. It feels really good. There. Like that. Blend to win. I guess this is the cleric that's very religious coded. Isn't dealing with the afterlife and the powers. Oh, that's I believe that's generally referred to as a psychopomp. And there are various psychopomp classes and subclass options that are on the DMsGuild, like dealing with the transition of souls from life into death, like ferrying them across the river Styx, stuff like that, or mediums communicating with spirits like that, like beyond just what Speak with Dead would allow. Yeah, I know that vibe. I think that's what we're talking about, right? Blend, blend. Blend to win. Bring that down a little bit more. that. We are damn near done with these mountains. Just about to a point where don't really feel like I need to add anything more for it to do what it needs to do. How does I cover that over? Push that back a bit. Cover that up. Nice. Cover that there. Yeah, I think that feels pretty good. So let's I definitely don't need you, little dude. So we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get rid of that. Mountains looking pretty good, so we can stitch shut the mountains. Let's look at the overall composition to see how we're sitting. Add in back in Atur Academy itself. Add in the forest foreground, manifest zone smoke, and don't need the sketch layer anymore. So the next thing that we need to actually work on is the dome. What's going on? Looking after all these mountains. Ravnica course light. I feel my man. Let's see. We'll get rid of the mist. We'll get rid of the foreground trees for now. And we're back on the dome. So, I like where that's sitting. Rebuild our composition. Like overall, I think this composition looks really, really good. I like how these different elements are blending together. Looking again at our frame, that's currently our frame, but the actual frame that we end up going with might be something more like this. This might be like the actual frame that we use. So this is where I'm obviously focusing most of my attention, and inside of this, I think that sits really, really nicely. So all this extra stuff out here allows us to reduce the size a little bit to fit into the window that we created, if we need. So I'm over projecting the canvas, the area needed to paint, so that I have area to retreat to pull them in, and reducing size. Helps add depth in a smaller space, add more information to a smaller space. So, hey, Gabby, good to see you. Yeah, I think we're having a great day. Hey, Fox. Fox, it's you do what you do. You, Course Light. Now I want to go and watch the episode of Grizzly Adams. Listen to some John Denver while you do it, my dude. I need to grab some more coffee real quick. Hold on, I'm gonna be right back. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right there. Misty Mountain High. There we go. All right, re-equipped, refueled, ready to go. It's 7:20 something here. I've got about a half hour left. So, yeah, I like how the mountains are looking. I'm content with that. It's a rugged Atur is in the mountains anyway, so It has the Atur Academy grounds has the main structure and trees. It's actually inside of a weak manifest zone itself. You can see up here in the map that was created by Casa Stereo, Instagram Casa Stereo 89, Patreon Casa Stereo. Casa Stereo has been building Eberron cartography for years at this point. And this is probably the best illustration or indication of what Atur Academy and its grounds are like. And you can see this green mist that's coming off of it. I did not know that Casa would agree that the manifest zone to Mabar would have a green swamp mist to it. But it's the exact same color that we chose for our illustration. And I didn't see this piece until we got here. But I've been using that same green fog effect throughout the adventure for months. So it's really cool to see that. But we can see like the rugged terrain that's off to the west. And that's the same angle of approach that we're taking. We're to the east facing west here as well. So so far so good. So what, you know? Let's the nice thing about architecture is that it's generally symmetrical. And so in this instance, I only need to, I've got a rough idea of what this thing looks like, right? But a lot of it is going to be covered because of the angle and the foreshortening that we're using with the rising perspective. I don't need to worry about the ground levels so much. What you see is what we really need to worry about. So when we go about building this thing, I only need to really worry about this much of it. And inside that, again, only this much is relevant. There, get rid of that. Like, this is the only thing that's actually really relevant in this illustration. That is not a large block of architecture that I need to worry about. And that excites me because I'm shit about architecture. Like, architecture is probably my weakest piece. The weakest element in my illustration style right now. Because I hard committed to organic shapes with like the Bob Ross style of terrain that I do in the background. But I think we'll figure it out. So let's see. How do I want to approach this? I've got the basic colors that we already got off of the map. So thanks to that, Casa. And John Denver, some cores and some grizzly axes like 100% in your future. Just need to find my old flannel shirt. Hell yeah, man. Oh, Gabby's got a birthday. Holy crap. Happy unbirthday. Very merry unbirthday to you. Yes, you. Swing by. If you have the chance, swing by tomorrow. Let us know. Let us know that you survived the loop. You can take another victory lap around the sun. Okay, so I like the color. Let's try to simplify life. Let's switch to a round tool. What better way to make a dome? And then let's grab another one here. something about like this. That should do. Nope, here. Feels about just about right. Let's bring that down. If I can sculpt the foreshortening here of perspective on this curvilinear space, then it'll be something I can replicate at the lower tiers. Bring this up here like that. See, I'm not talking as much because I'm having to concentrate. The more Phil has to think, the less he makes to talk. Thinky no speaky. Thinky no speaky. Which is why I don't like doing page layouts on stream, because it's just me staring at the same block of text, scooting it around character by character until I like where it sits on the page. And that is graphic design work, which is infinitely more boring to listen to than actual illustration. Illustration, I can actually turn off my brain and let autonomic control take over. And just let the pixels push themselves. But there's no real pixel pushing when it comes to graphic design work. I mean, it's literal. Ironically, it's literally pixel pushing when you're doing page layouts, because you're like literally pushing the text around and pushing the illustration around to make it find its optimal position. It's the process of doing it that's not very exciting. I think there's a strong argument that my game design streams aren't very interesting, because it's just me basically going over rules and rewriting them and adding that in. But I think that survives because the material that I'm creating unto itself is interesting. So I think that's a saving grace, but I don't think page layouts and like text editing has the same punch. That's feeling pretty good. I spy with my eyes something that is text. Give me a hot second and I'll catch up with you. There, that's starting to feel pretty good. Again, I only have to worry about half of the illustration. As long as the left side looks good, I can just mirror flip it and have it be symmetrical. The nature of symmetry. There. What's up? Was a folk singer back in the day. Grizzly Adams was a TV show in the 70s about a mountain man and his bear buddy. I love getting decision streams. Right on, Gabby. Glad to hear it. I do like doing the game design streams because it shares. It's an opportunity for me to basically walk through the logic of decisions that I make. And honestly, over the course of time, I end up retreading the same ground as we continue developing it. So by the time the thing is done, we've ironed out almost all the problems. My seat's just being completely wonky with me. Hold on. It really is just irons out all the weird details of a piece and helps make it strong to the point where I'm confident with playtesting it, and then getting back from the playtests, updating it, like the things that we found that went wrong during playtesting, what do we need to fix. I do love that process. I do love it. Now we're over the halfway point in the structure, so cutting and pasting will end up working out just fine. Just gotta trim down that edge a little bit. There we go. It's not perfect. But it's better. Misty Mountain High. Cannot play. I don't think my channel will do well if I just start playing John Denver. I'm pretty sure that's copyright protected stuff. But his music is so peaceful. There, okay. Let's, I don't need to have this weird shaped anymore. There. Trimming up these edges. If I can get this band right, it's going to help with the with the rest of the curve of the dome. That's why I'm spending so much time on it. Yeah, I'm pretty content with that. We're going to be back on stream tonight. It's 7:40 here in Seattle. I'll be on in about 10.5 hours ish, like around 6 p.m. We're gonna work on the Theros Piety system. We're converting the 5 colors of Magic the Gathering into a pantheon, because in Theros there's 15 gods, 5 major gods that are all dedicated to one color each, and then there's 10 minor gods that are devoted to a combination, all 10 combinations of those 5 colors. And so that means that each pantheon of color has 5 gods, an elder god that's only representing that color, and then each has 4 minor gods that are devoted to 2 separate colors. Like Athreos is white and black. So Erebus is black. I forget the name. The name of the white god is blanking on me. But you have those two major gods, and then Athreos ties to both of them. So his allegiance is split. So these minor gods have split allegiance between the 5 major gods, which makes for immediate narrative conflicts and complexity in storytelling. But from the piety system, like if I want to raise my devotion to black, I just need to go perform tasks and heroics that align with the principles of those 5 gods in the pantheon of black magic to advance that cause. So like I could worship and perform sacrifices for Erebus, or for, in this example, Athreos, and align both of those towards black to continue advancing my black piety. So today's session tonight will be looking for commonalities amongst like all the gods that have ties to black. What are the things that each, because the way that Theros is currently built is that you can have piety with each individual god, and there's 15 fucking gods. It's like that is a lot of work. That is too much. It's too much for a common player to wrap their head around what each of these gods are going on about. But if your team selects colors that they want to be devoted to, that immediately reduces the palette that you need to worry about from 15 to like maybe 5 or 10. So you're limiting your palette, pardon the pun, but you're limiting your palette of narrative around the colors that your team has decided to commit to. And so that means that there's less gods that you need to worry about paying patronage to, and the DM is free to use all the other gods that you don't have devotion with to become enemies or antagonists of some sort, or potential allies. Which is similar to how we were talking about like factions in Ravnica. But Theros just allows for just that little added bit of a little more depth. There, that feels really good. Transform. Bam, consistent. See, easy peasy. That's what we're trying to achieve with each of these things, doing that sort of stuff. So we can grab this one. So as it stands, the piety system, all 15 gods have their own ways of worshiping them. And that's a lot of information just to absorb. So we're trying to find commonalities between like all the gods that are devoted to black. Is there a consistency that we see amongst them for what they get access to? And from that we can extract these are like the tenets of black in Theros. So we can have the piety scaling lean into those commonalities. It's a lot of word pie there. Sorry about that. I don't know how else to express it right now. But that's what we're exploring. I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but I have a hunch that it will. So today we're just going to basically start extracting what are the benefits that you get from all these different white gods, blue gods, black gods, red gods, green gods. what are the commonalities, and then structure them into the 5 tiers that we use, 1, 5, 9, 13, 17 levels in D&D, to be able to flesh out that piety score as it increases from 1 to 51. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. That's our design tonight. So it's going to be basically chewing on the Mythic Odysseys of Theros campaign setting that was published by WotC. We'll be looking at that on D&D Beyond, and basically just thumbing through all the gods and extracting all their points and looking and then listing them out, looking for the commonalities, and then basically consolidating all of those different gods into 5 separate color lists. What's up? Helios, thank you. Yes, Helios. Challenger, Necromancers trying to not appear evil for a minute, just a minute. Difficulty level impossible. I don't understand the question. I mean, I have it on D&D Beyond. I don't have any physical books. I don't, because of my vision, I can't read books. If the font size is smaller than 12, I can't really read it. It becomes very difficult. I squint a lot. I end up getting a headache. So most of the books that I read these days, novels are just audio books now. And text is always PDFs that I can zoom. I used to be a ravenous reader back in the 80s and 90s. My vision was better back then. It has eroded a bit over time with age. But I would consume a 300-page novel in about 8 hours. So I was like around 40, 50 pages per hour. There's about 300 pages. I think there's like 300 words per page. No, 250 words per page typically. So that's like what, 10,000 words per hour that I would read. And this is just light novels, like sci-fi stuff, fantasy stuff, like Dragonlance novels and shit. Just smash through those books on a good Tuesday during the summer when my parents were at work and I was on my own. I could wake up in the morning, have some cereal, crack it open a book, and potentially get through 2 books before dinner time. So I would just crush through books. And I didn't like going outside because the sun would blind me in the summer. So I was always indoors anyway. So just consuming books just became easy. It was a way for me to literally escape. And they're right. The more you read, the better your vocabulary gets. Because I have noticed since I switched to audiobooks, my vocabulary has slowly decayed. That's probably good enough. Save. So, You don't want a party during your birthday. The challenge. Hey, Francois. Bro, what's going on? Working on a dungeon. I hope to work on my birthday or so, or soon after. Check. Anyway, back to work. I don't know what you kids are talking about these days. Copy, paste. If I flatten it a bit like that, it thins out the curve. Then free transform. Increase it just a smidge. Layer. There we go. Merge those together. Again, we only have to worry about half of it. We'll leave it all intact for now. Actually, this is probably a good cutoff point here. Free transform. Flip horizontal. Zoop. That's actually pretty good. Raise this one up a smidge. Real rudimentary shapes right now. Raise that up just a smidge. It's gonna work out. My face. Let's see. So let's add on another layer. That. We can conceal. All right, that timer's important. I think I'm almost out of time. We're down to a few minutes? Yeah, it's 7:52. So we're almost out of time. So we're creating, so we're gonna have from the Casa Stereo map, we've got the 4 points here, so we'll have the central point, and then right now this is where we're creating right now down below. We've got this band here that we figured out. Skull on top, radial symmetry. There's 16 radial spokes here. So once we get this tower and this tower in place with the bands at the 3 levels, we'll be able to add back in the radial spokes, put the skull on top, and then we can start working on texture and like windows, balconies and stuff like that, like minor details of the architecture. but the heavy lifting will be done. So there's not actually a lot of components. It's actually a blessedly simple shape that we're dealing with. So right now I'm just playing with aesthetic design stuff. Building just some arcs and curves. I'll just make the piece look better in general. And mask that curve. Hide that inside the frame. There we go. See, I'm thinking again. Less talky when I thinky. Thinking isn't bad, but it's certainly quieter. Like if I'm not talking about stuff and philosophizing about shit, chances are I'm not picking up new subscribers. I like that though. That feels pretty good. All right, so it's time for me to cut out of here. I hate to go, but I have a day job that allows me the freedom to do these things in the mornings and the evenings. So we'll be back tonight in about 10 hours. We'll be back on. We're going to, like we were talking about, we're going to start developing we're going to analyze the commonalities between the Theros Black Gods to see if we can decipher some meaningful ways of demonstrating devotion to black energies in the Theros campaign. That is, oops, that we want to merge down. There we go. So far, so good. That's good banding. So we'll do that. We're going to mirror it over here. We're going to take the same structure here, and we're going to put one here in the center. We'll redo our skull up top. We'll do our ribbing for the dome. We'll put in some texture, balconies, windows, and stuff. And then we'll work on the foreground of the forest, canopy, stuff like that. And the composition will be finished. So let's just grab this hat. There. This is going to end up being a decent piece. It won't be the most amazing piece, but it'll be maybe like a 7 out of 10. It'll end up being strong enough that I'm going to be proud of it. It'll be cool. It's a nice way to fill in a 2-column splash page. Landscapes like this, architecture, it's just real easy to fill in a lot of space. So it adds mood and character, adds to the overall narrative, creates some consistent imagery throughout the adventure. It's a good addition. So I'm really happy with this. God, I love this adventure. I love this whole composition. I love the whole process of building it. I'm really looking forward to having this one done and have it out there for you guys to take a look at. And I'm looking forward to starting the next thing. The next book we're going to do after this is going to be the Bastions campaign. And we'll be working on the Color Mana stuff at the same time. I've got obligations to Stuart Braz and Andy Headley to get this one done, which is why I'm focusing so much on it. But once we're done with this, we got like 6 other books that I can just basically bounce around and work on whatever I want whenever I want. I won't have any obligation other than where the muse wants me to go. And that freedom is going to allow me to have a lot of different stuff that we get to play with, both from design and art moving forward for probably the next year. So I'm really excited. So stick around, guys. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. I will be back tomorrow morning to continue this composition. We'll be back tonight to work on Theros devotion system for piety. 9 times per week, Monday through Friday. And then we do playtesting stuff on my Discord server on Saturday. And it'd be awesome if we could have enough people interested in playtesting that we can actually have more than one team that are running with somebody else DMing, so that I can keep running a game so I have direct interaction with the stuff. But if there was another DM that was running with a separate team to figure out how this stuff works for themselves as well, super valuable. So, but we'll see where things go. So I will see you guys in like 10 hours. I hope you all have a great day in the meantime. Cheers.